Hello, true art believers. Welcome to today's installment of the Artist Interview Series. Today, I will be talking with fine art painter Tony Lips. Tony Lips is a Cincinnati-based artist who works in oil paints with a focus on invented colors and implied shapes to create a scene on the canvas. Tony uses various techniques to create defined textures and expressive, colorful urbanscapes. Urbanscapes. I'm going to do it with one eye. Urbanscapes. Tony emphasizes glimpses of realism mixed with abstraction to create his work. Before we start, make sure to smash the subscribe button and hit the notifications bell. Please and thank you. Thank you and enjoy the conversation. Tony Lips, how are you doing today, sir?
Good, yourself?
Well, it's been a hectic day. You ever have a Sunday where you think it's gonna be like a chill day, lazy day? Not necessarily lazy, but definitely like dialed. So you're running at a 10, right? You run at a 10 all week, and then you want to dial it back to between 5 and a 7.
Yeah.
But it ends up being like an 8 and 9. Or not even that, but it ends up being like a 7 or 7.5 or 8, which is more than you expected for the day.
Yeah.
So it kind of happened that way. I was trying to finish a book, and I wanted to brag about it on this this conversation, but I didn't get it done. I was like so close, but I looked at it and I was like, I have 200 pages left, right? And I just didn't get done. And then I had all this other kids things I had to do that was unexpected.
Dad life.
Yeah, dad life. I had some stuff like I got a surprise construction task that I had to do, like assemble this. I'm like, oh,
yep.
Okay, let's assemble something, right?
Yeah.
So you know what it's like.
Yep. Today was the trip to the urgent care.
Wow. So that's why you have the brewski.
Yeah.
What brew is that?
Kona.
What's that?
Kona, big wave.
Kona. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you into those type of beers?
Yeah.
What's your favorite beer to sit back and relax with?
It just depends. I'm a big lager fan.
Lager.
Usually I like a Corona is really nice to have in the summertime, but we got a lot of good local breweries in Cincinnati, and I'm a big fan of Matry and Rheingeist right now.
Yeah. Do you visit them often?
Oh yeah. They've got some really nice locations out here.
Yeah, and do they have growlers? Do they sell growlers there?
Oh yeah. Most of our microbreweries out here do.
Yeah. Like I haven't had a growler in forever. When's the last time you had a growler?
Oh, recently. Yeah.
Recently?
Yeah.
Do you ever whenever you're painting, do you ever drink a little bit?
Oh yeah, I'll usually have one at the end of the day if I can while I'm painting. It's just nice.
Yeah, it is. It is relaxing. It feels like a kind of like you're doing something bad, right? Like when you take a load off and you have a beer and you're painting, you're doing something serious, but you're also doing something leisurely at the same time.
Oh, for me, it's drinking at work. So, yeah.
That works too.
That
it's like was it sticking it to the man of sorts, right?
Yeah. On the man. So, there it is.
Oh man. So the urgent care was the dealio for today.
Yeah.
Like a scrape and bruise or something.
No, our 7-month-old, something wasn't going good with his foot or ankle, and we had to go get it checked out. And everything's good, but just stressful.
Yeah, I totally can relate. So let's get to it a little bit. Let's talk about what kind of artwork were you doing as a kid?
Oh, as a kid?
Yeah, what were you doing?
Man, I've been drawing forever. So a lot of times, my dad used to be a police officer, so I did a lot of drawings of him, and as the police car, like little line bubble drawings. And about first grade, it was all Ninja Turtles, and
of course,
yeah, and then comic books. I started learning how to. I really learned how to draw with comic books when we were at the store. I always got a comic book at the grocery store, and I would just like redraw what was in the comic book, Spider-Man and Wolverine and all that. And I don't know, it was always like something figurative. And then high school was when I took my first art class. Really,
Yeah.
yeah. My parents tried to get me in art classes all through grade school, and I was really stubborn and didn't want to take them because I was like, I'm self-taught. Felt like that was special. But then when I went to high school, they have a really good art program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like an advanced placement program, and that's when I really got into it and started thinking about it for the future.
So, what was your favorite comic character back then as a kid?
Back then, I was a big Spider-Man fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you still into comics now?
Yeah, I mean, not. I always go see Spider-Man when it comes out. Like that's like one of my favorites. And I got into the Avengers, but I think the further on they got into the series, I felt the more hokey they got. But definitely a big Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, in the series, no one ever. There's no risks, none of the characters die on, and or the villain always loses, and they're gonna find a way to bring them back somehow. These characters, right?
Yeah.
In some way, somehow, they're gonna recycle these characters over and over again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So were you any really good at comic drawing as a kid?
Oh yeah. That's I thought that's the route I was going to go out of college was get into illustration and learning that. And I didn't really stick to it once I got into college. But
what happened? Why didn't you continue with your comic art and illustration?
So when I went to Kent State, and they have a great art program. And one of the things that if you want to get into illustration, my art guidance counselor, whoever the guy was, he said, well, you got to start with visual design or something like that, visual graphic design or something like that. And so you have to go through graphic design courses, and it's very meticulous, and it's a different style of art, and it's not anything that I thought I was. And after the first semester, I'm young, so I don't know better, but I'm going through that, and I'm like, this isn't for me. It's too meticulous, and I'm not a meticulous artist. And so then I got out of it, and I changed my major right away.
To what?
I went into art education for a semester before I switched to fine arts as my final major. So I went from graphic design for one semester. I just couldn't figure it out, and then did the art education. I didn't really like the route that was going because I really wanted to work on, my aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was achieving that with those classes. So I became a bachelor's of fine arts major.
What were they teaching at that time for art education?
Oh, I can't really remember. I mean, it was mostly like I was in the early phases of it again. So it was creating a lesson plan and just kind of teaching how to teach. It wasn't. They had us taking two-dimensional composition classes where you learn how to arrange shapes and I don't know. It wasn't what I wanted out of my art lesson. It felt more crafty, more arts and crafts than actual art. So,
like, how do you you can make a turkey with your hand?
Kind of. It almost felt like that's the route they were trying to push us. And
did they give you a lot of macaroni and glitter?
No, we didn't get that far.
pipe cleaners.
No, none of that.
And or construction paper to make feathers and such. I want a turkey joke right now for some odd reason. That's all I remember with like crafty things. So there was this question regarding illustration and the beginning phases of going to that field. I was listening to some artists talk about how to get into the field of illustration and commercial art, or more so like like that pop art illustration that you see,
Yeah.
or comic books, in that really nichey like field of art where like illustration in video games, storyboard artist, all that, like that whole gamut of commercial art. And they were trying to answer a question: how do you get into that field? And they're in the field of that genre of art, and they couldn't give a straight answer. Like, they're
Yeah.
saying some people go to college, some people end up starting very low in the bracket at the business. They couldn't come up with an answer. So
Right.
like, it's weird how they have that.
As to how to become one.
Yeah, they have that career opportunity in college, but like, that's not necessarily the straight path. There's never really a straight path to that field.
Well, especially nowadays with illustration, there's, a lot of it's based off of like computer programs, and it's very basic. It's piecing together shapes, and there's some illustrators that I really appreciate that still do it like the traditional way without using like programs, and that's you actually see their style in their art rather than this generic bits and pieces that are thrown in there. I'm not trying to knock on those artists, but there's some really great illustrators that I follow to this day that just fun to watch and see their works.
Yeah, like the traditional media in the illustration field and the graphic design field is like becoming like a extinct almost.
Yeah.
I imagine though, like in the future, there would probably be like a demand for it, where it becomes so sparse that people want it because it's unique, and it's a rarity to have that type of manual approach as opposed to digital.
Oh yeah.
So I can see that happening. So after you graduated, what happened? What happened, Tony?
So actually, I didn't graduate. My senior year, I was in my senior year of college, and it got to the point where there were some issues going on with getting me to my final year to graduate with teachers, and I just kind of was getting kind of fed up with the program at the time, and so my parents were like, just let's come on home, and we can take a break, and I ended up getting a job to help pay my loans. My dad, who was a deputy sheriff with Hamilton County, got me into when you start with the county, I started working with the sheriff's department in 2005, right when I got out of college.
Yeah.
And typically when you start there, you start at the jail. And so I was with prisoners, and I started out at the jail in 2005. You got to be there for a year before you can go through the police academy. So I joined the jail, worked at the jail for I was there for 6 years before I got promoted as a police officer. But while I was there, I decided I'm just going to do this as a career. I had good benefits, and it's just, I could start being an adult, I guess. So
adulting, as they call it now.
There was this panic when I got out of school. I was like, man, I guess I got to figure out what I'm going to do and make a living. And, getting in while you're in college, that's the last thing you think about. You don't know I had no idea what I was going to do when I got out. I didn't know how I was going to make a living. I took a major that when you get out, you're on your own,
I agree. One of the biggest deficits or deficiencies of I'm a teacher, so this makes me sound bad, but there's some truth to it, is the when they teach these fields, they don't teach the student how to make it as an artist, especially a fine artist. Commercial illustration, that's graphic design, that's a different beast. Like, you get out there, you have a portfolio that's geared specifically for that field, right? And you can get into a company and work for them at an entry level, of sorts, right?
Right.
But like as far as like the fine arts, they don't teach it that well. Like they don't know they don't teach marketing. They don't teach
Right.
the whole getting to exhibitions or getting your work out there thing. They don't teach the whole business side of it,
No.
and I think that's a big key crucial thing. I wish years back I had taken some business and marketing courses,
Oh yeah.
that would have been majorly beneficial. Now I
Yeah.
try to espouse that to my class, but I don't think they believe me.
Well, now given social media, I mean, artists are being told right away that there's no way to make money as an artist. You hear the old phrase about being a starving artist, and people make these jokes, but it discourages a lot of people. And that's a gift that you have, and it's like you could be this person that watches all these people with these gifts, these athletes that come out and they've got they're just gifted to be an athlete, and they're successful. You got this musician, he's gifted to be a musician, and he's so successful. And you're being told that the likelihood of as an artist is like 0 to none, and really that's not true. Now is the greatest time to be an artist. It's the best time to market your work. Print. You get with e-commerce now, and you can sell your work online.
Yeah.
And then really, once you get in this groove, like it picks up, and that's not a lot of people are being told that nowadays.
I totally agree on that. It's like you can't teach a dog new tricks, like the stigma of the starving artist, right? It's hard to break that, It's hard to break it when your parents, not necessarily my parents, but like in general, like a lot of parents like veer you away from that, right?
Well, yeah. And that's their way of protecting you, and that's understandable, because the way a lot of people grew up was you get out, you get a job to reach retirement. And the way I looked at it when I was with the sheriffs, I was at the sheriff's department for 13 years before my wife and I had a really big conversation to stop, because I lost my desire to be a police officer anymore, and I really wanted to be an artist. And a lot of people were on my side, especially with the sheriff's office, saying, "Hey, you're really good at this. That's what you should be doing." And I had this fear. I'm like, well, what if I don't succeed, And that's the last thought I should have. And my wife was really encouraging and said, you're happier when you're in your studio. Let's make this happen. And I mean, you really have to embrace it and be ready for the hard part. But I lost my train of thought where I was going with this, but
there's uncertainty in it.
Huh?
There's uncertainty.
Yeah, there's this uncertainty in it, and a lot of people are. I was looking at my life. Let's say I lived to 90. I spent most of my life in this career that I really didn't give a crap about, and I'd rather devote more of that time, that small amount of time, to being the best that I can be at what I'm really good at. And so. Did you
make any artwork while you were a police officer?
Yeah. So when I got out of college, I was out. I hadn't picked my paintbrush up for like 3 to 4 years, and a friend of mine wanted something for their basement, and I ended up doing a painting of it was the Bengals playing the Steelers, and I did this big 4 foot by 2 foot painting, and it was like my first painting in a really long time, and it got a lot of attention. My friend shared it with one of the players that was in the painting, Domata Pecco, and Pecco got back and says, I really like that. I'd like that. So he got a hold of me, and I ended up doing a painting for him, which was really cool. And then like people started really recognizing what I was doing, and I started doing little bits here and there for people, and I was doing a lot of charity artwork. I was donating pieces to like American Heart Association benefits. We had officers with cancer. I was donating paintings for that, and we were getting them signed by players from the Bengals and the Reds, and maybe not the Reds. Actually, I don't think I did any with the Reds, but with the Bengals, we were doing we were getting these signed autographed pieces put up and donated. And, so yeah, I was doing that part on the side while I was, police officer.
Was it on the days off, I'm assuming?
Yeah. So it was great when I got out of jail and became a patrol officer. My schedule changed where I was when I was at the jail. I was 2 days on, 6 days on, 2 days off. It was a horrible schedule. You really didn't want to do anything on your off days. And when I got to the road, our schedule changed, 12-hour shifts. But you were on 2 days, off 2 days, on 3 days, and then it flip-flopped for the following week. So I had a lot of off time, which I could go into the studio. And I lived like 5 minutes away from my studio. So it was like jump on the highway and here I am. And it was the best thing ever.
And then what was the moment that you had that hard talk with your wife, like, this is something I needed to jump on?
So it was like when I came home, I was always really stressed and I was bringing it home with me a lot. And I was just clearly unhappy. And it was rare I had good days coming home. Like I was always in a bad mood. And, as a police officer, you're dealing with people when they're at their worst a lot of times, where like they had a bad day, they really need your help. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're the person that they're gonna, kind of beat up a little bit on. So because I'm the guy that's got to come either fix a problem or like take somebody to jail. And so a lot of times it was I just had this bad attitude when I went home. And I think it was the year my first son was born, and he was only a couple months old, and we were in the house, and one of our deputies had committed suicide. And so I went home talking with my wife about that, and she got, she said, why would he do that? And I was like, well, I don't know, because there was no sign like this. Yeah, it was unexpected. And it was really a hard thing for our department because it was just so like we just saw him the other day. He was in a great mood. He got his shift or his beat that he wanted back. And it was just didn't make sense. And, it's one of those things where I was like, life is short. Why do I need to be in this job that's going to, change my demeanor so much, and it's hard. And I just couldn't commit myself to being a police officer. I don't know. I didn't have the desire to do my job 100%. And for me, I take pride in how I do my work. And I wasn't motivated, so we had this talk, and she says, well, what's going to make you happy? And I'm like, I'm the happiest when I'm at the studio. And she goes, well, let's make it happen. So we made like a 2-year plan. And, it's funny because I had it a secret for so long, and I was talking to a couple friends and that I work with, and word got out that I was planning on leaving. And I think what made it real was one of my lieutenants called up and says, hey, are you planning on quitting? And I was like, who told you? So like, that opened up a whole can of worms. And I was like, well, the thought's been on my mind, and, I'm making plans. Nothing's set in stone yet. And he was trying to find out when, and then that's when I picked a date, and I'm like, well, shit, it's happening now. So here we are.
What did you do the first day you were not a police officer?
I came right down to the studio. I mean, it was, so here's what's really great. My sheriff, the big man, he granted me a leave of absence for the first year. And if it didn't work out in that first year where I was like, I need to go back and I need to be a cop again because this just isn't working, I could go back, no questions asked. And that was really great because I was seeing the support I was getting from the sheriff's department. And, but yeah, my first day off, I think I came straight down here. And I mean, I was just in this great mood. I stopped, I got coffee, and I got a nice breakfast. And then I came into the studio and put the music on, and I sat here and I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to paint. Like that was the first part. It's like, my studio didn't have anything on the walls. Like behind me, it was all gray. And I just didn't know what I was going to do. So I sat down in here and I just started figuring out. I was like, I got to figure something to paint. And even if it's anything, I picked a picture, and even if it wasn't like what the route I wanted to go, I just wanted to paint until I could figure it out.
And then, what were you doing to earn income from your art, like right then and there, or are you just focusing on getting a body of work?
My biggest thing was focusing on a body of work. I had saved up a bunch. I had saved up a good amount of money before.
How much money did you saved up? Just in case
I think it was like $20,000.
So a good, if you pinched pennies, you could literally not do anything for a year.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So yeah, that was my big goal, because like what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that we could live on my wife's income without my income completely, and that's what we did. We all the money that I was earning was going into a savings account, and then we were just living off of what she was making. And once we realized it was doable, that's when I was ready to pull the trigger and do this. But yeah, the first year was just building the portfolio. I entered a couple shows, but nothing like, I mean, not a whole lot. I
define shows.
Define
shows.
Like not like gallery showings, but like couple fairs. Like
art fairs
here and there. Yeah, like there's Mad Tree Brewing. They had a thing called the Off Market, and artisans and artists and like bakers and all like anybody that makes anything, they show up to this, and it's it's a 4-hour event, and you sell what you can. So I would do that to try to just get face recognition with people, and then doing stuff on Instagram every day, trying to be get that face recognition. And there was a couple art fairs that I entered in just to bring my work, and that was horrible because I don't have art prints yet, so I'm bringing actual artwork that gets damaged in the transportation. So that was just a horrible experience, but got to learn.
Did you what kind of workout was getting damaged?
Actually, so that guy right there, the rogue-wing.
Yeah.
I one of my paintings, the corner went right into the front face of it. And it was like right when I was unloading everything. And so that was getting damaged. I had some frames getting scratched up, and my artwork was too big. I was looking at what all these other people were showing at the fair. Like they had smaller pieces, and they were doing like little fine paper prints and hanging that stuff up, and it's easier to transport. And I was shoving everything in I had a Nissan Titan and a little crew cab in the back, so I was like shoving stuff in and like trying to make it fit. And it was a bad idea, but
it's hard. It's hard hauling a lot of artwork in a car.
Yeah,
I've had a few shows where I was literally playing like Tetris, laying them on so they wouldn't wouldn't have canvases poke through the bottom, because so I was stacking them up. Have you ever played what is it called? Burger Time, where the guy runs on top of burger patties and such, and pickles and cheese, and he runs on top of them, and then eventually he makes a hamburger patty. So I was stacking them up like that,
Yeah.
So that's hard to do. How many did you do? How many of those did you do? And have you done any since?
No. So in the first year, I think I only did like 2 or 3. I entered like a couple shows where it was like a big event. And here's the other thing too, is I made my own like display. So like these walls, and they're very, they're bulky and just like a pain in the butt to transport. I took wood doors from Home Depot, and then I stapled like a material on it, and I put them on hinges so they stood up, so I could hang work on that. And it's thrown together. I mean, but you got to worry about the wind knocking them over, and they don't secure very well to the tent. And But I think I only did like three shows, and I don't know, it just wasn't the best setup. So I think once I have a better setup, I do a few more.
Did you do well on them?
Yeah, actually. So once I finally started getting paper prints of my artwork, I was running deals at these shows where, like, you buy one, you get another one for like a percentage off, and people really took to that. And I had people coming out of there with like 5-6 prints, and leaving. And I $86 to get into the show, and then coming out with like $500-600 wasn't bad. And then also, like, people were coming back to me to buy other prints, so that was nice, because I had just my first year. Actually, the first thing I did for the first couple of months when I became full-time artist was get my website built. I got on with Art Storefronts, and I went through their whole program where I just followed the guidelines as to how to build a website, because I'm not technically savvy. I just I wing it, and so it was really nice to get on with Art Storefronts and figure this out, and that really that kind of helped pave the way, because people were going onto my site and actually looking at it and then signing up and buying with the deals and all that, and it was really great. But
did you sell any originals at those events?
No, I've only sold a couple of originals, not a whole lot. I mean, everything that I've built up it's I still have it. People buy the prints before they buy the originals. The originals are pricey.
How pricey?
A couple thousand.
Couple thousand?
Yeah.
So like for like 2,000, 2,500, 3,000.
Yeah.
5?
Yeah. Like that.
What's the most expensive painting you have? Sorry.
The most expensive one I got is my horse race painting. It's a 6 foot by 4 foot, and that is, I think it's like 24,000, something like that.
Only 24?
Yeah. So I built this thing. I built this giant. When I was still trying to figure out how I was gonna start out as an artist, I'm like, I'm gonna build all my canvases now, just have them stacked and ready to go. And I ended up buying a giant board, and I'm like, I'm going to build this panel. And I built this big 6 foot by 4 foot panel, and I primed it, and I got it ready for painting. And then I sat it in the corner of the room, and I stared at it. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to put on there. And I think I had it for a year before I finally was like, I'm going to paint something on this. And that's when I started this horse race painting. I'm like, I always wanted to paint a horse race, and I'm like, maybe I'll sell it. Who knows? And when we go through the pictures, I'll show it to you guys. But that's my biggest painting, my most expensive one. But all the work I put into it. Yeah.
Is that how many hours would you say did you spend on it?
About 150. Just painting. Yeah, just painting it.
And how do you come up with your prices?
I go by square inch, and then I tack on like material costs plus like overhead.
Square inch or linear inch? You ever heard of that?
Nah.
Linear inch. There's two ways I hear that you can do it. Like, you can do square inches and then linear inches. Apparently, linear inches is a little bit more stable on the lower prices. Like, it feels more reasonable, and then like. When in square inches, when you do in square inches, your smaller pieces are lower in price, but the larger you go, the more astronomical the price gets. Linear inches isn't as high as a square inch price range.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to ask next. I'm going to take a quick swig of water here.
Yeah.
It was about your paintings, but let's just I'm going to defer to your paintings. Let's talk about some of your paintings. Oh, actually, I remember, because you said you were staring at your paintings, and I was wondering. This is kind of like indicative of how I'm thinking. The same with the way you're painting is. I was wondering how you come up with your painting ideas, because you're saying that you didn't know what to put on your surfaces. Right. How does that come about?
So for me, like, originally how it started, I was doing sports paintings for people. That's what everybody was responding to. I did a lot of Reds paintings, Bengals paintings, and that was just really with what was people were interested in. I was not a big fan. It's not the route I would prefer to go if I'm going to pick this as a career. I like sport paintings. They're great and all, but I really like anything with people in it. I like architecture. I like cityscapes. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of landscapes, but the thing I like about cityscape is it's like a landscape almost. I mean, it's just like it's just more complex, I feel, and so that's kind of the route I was going to go. So I had a buddy. I got a story about how I do this. I have a friend. I told him, I was like, he's a photographer, and I said, hey, I need to go out and get some photo references. I want to start using my own artwork or my own photos, and so I can do prints of my work. I don't want to like just borrow another photographer's artwork. I don't want to have to pay rights to anybody to do this. So he's like, yeah, let's get together and we'll go out and get some photos. And so we went out. It was like really early in the morning. I said I wanted some sunset or sunrise photos. I wanted, the Roebling Bridge, which is like the big bridge in Cincinnati. And so we go out, and that was like the first place we went. And we get these photos, and then he brought a GoPro, and he goes, and I told him, I was like, I want candid shots too. So he goes, I got a great idea for that. We're going to strap these GoPros to the front of our car as we drive through the city. And I said, okay, great. This is kind of a cool idea. So we're driving through over the Rhine, which is like this newly renovated. It's a big historic part of Cincinnati. It was really crime ridden, and now it's being renovated, and it's coming back to life. And it's a really colorful part of town. It's great. So we're driving through, and we got the GoPro going, and it's just full record the whole time. And then when I'm like, you know what, let's mark this spot right here because I think this could be a good photo. So we're driving through Washington Park, which is another portion of Over the Rhine, and we're at the stoplight. And one of my paintings, actually, one of the first paintings I did, it's the girl in pink, and it's actually in my group of photos. It's great. We're sitting at the stoplight, and this family is walking across, and it's the dad, the mom, their little boy, and their little girl. And the little girl's the only one wearing this pink and red dress, and everybody else is gray and black. And they're walking, and I don't know if they're going to church or where they're going, but they're crossing the street right in front of us. And everybody but the little girl is staring forwards, and the little girl is looking right at us. And we both look at each other like, that's going to be a great photo. And it's perfect for the way it's like set in the middle of over the Rhine. They're passing this cobblestone street. Just a great mood. And that's probably one of my favorite pieces that I've painted, because it's just the subject matter in itself is great. All the lines point down to this girl, and she stands out. And so it was that's kind of how I go about. Like, I go out and I get photos. I got back into my photography, and I want to learn angles, positioning, and I want to force perspective. So nice low perspective is what I'm going with in my paintings. And a lot of artists, and when they go and they paint plein air, they're painting eye level, and
So you're gonna go worm's eye view?
Yeah, I just think it changes the dynamics of a scene. Everybody sees these paintings and it's overlooking, but it's like, how about you get a little bit lower and just kind of see something else,
Change the vantage point. That's really clever.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's look at some of your paintings. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's look at some of these paintings here. So what's this painting here?
This one, rainy day, Chicago. I went to Chicago with my wife. We were visiting some friends, and I got this pic. And it's funny how this one originally started. It was a bigger scene, and I started painting it, and I wasn't a big fan of it because it just seemed kind of boring. And then I'm like, well, what's the more interesting part of this photo? And I just cropped it down to these little sections because he had all these great lines and light work and the brake lights. I love the red of the brake light against the black. So I wanted to get in there, and my biggest thing right now is breaking away from photorealism, because that's what I was doing a lot of, and I wanted to kind of add some abstraction to my work, and I wanted there to be this great balance between the two of them. So getting in there, I like textures. I'm a big fan of raw textures. I want people to be able to see, I want to see people to see what goes into the painting. And I think you get a really good sense of that in this painting. But yeah, this was a fun one to paint.
Yeah, I noticed the paint is actually sticking off the canvas area, right?
Yeah, I started getting into palette knife with this. So
yeah, I can see that right there.
Yeah.
So, how long does it take you to make one of these?
Probably about like a couple days. Like,
A couple days.
yeah, not too long. It was maybe like
Acrylic or oil?
oils.
Oils.
Yeah,
Do you like oils over acrylics?
yeah.
Why?
More malleable. I like to be able to shape and remove. I don't know. I got into oils in college, and I ended up
Mhm.
sticking with it. And I just feel like it's just. I feel like I'm molding the painting, like I'm sculpting my painting with oils. Yeah,
I was once told that it was like it's like painting with butter.
yeah,
I think that's I thought that was one of the like best analogies I
yeah,
heard about oil paints. It's like painting butter, you
yeah.
know. So show
Yep.
us another one.
Uh,
Hopefully, you can click over to the right. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll find
let's see.
out. Oh,
Yep.
there it is.
Here we go.
Well, that's
Figured it
cool.
out. So yeah, this one I borrowed this image from a guy I used to work with. He goes out and gets these photos, and I asked him if I could borrow this because I really wanted a nocturne scene, and I wanted to because there's an artist that I'm following, and he does these great paintings. I'm like, I need to experiment, and so we started. I started on this one, and I went in and I started. I increased the saturation in the painting because the colors these colors weren't here. Like it wasn't this vibrant green and red. So you know, and I really like to use colors in my artwork,
Yeah.
and yeah. So this is another one where you know I got in there with texture again, and I like that. I like being able to. It kind of has a photorealist quality, but it doesn't. You know, I like just kind of being able to put these implied shapes down, and then you know now you have an image. You know.
When you say that you were saturating the colors, did you do that prior through photo manipulation to use it as your source, or did you just kind of eyeball it when you're painting?
No, I went in and I edited the photo and just went. I didn't go with like I'm not really great with Photoshop, but I went in and just edited the photo and enhanced the color saturation,
Hmm.
and it. I got the like I didn't even know that would happen. Like I was so yeah, I was like, wow,
Oh, that
that's great.
happened.
Yeah.
So wait, could you tell me how are you achieving these lens flare, these bright light colors? What are you
So it
doing?
started out so those bright light colors going nice and dark in the background. So to push those, that's like impasto. It's like extra thick layer of paint, but it's really like color pairing where I go in there and I started out. You keep the paint nice and thin in the background, uh, and uh, and that's what really when you go thick on the lights, it really pushes it forward.
Do you put like a glazing around the like I see on some of these there's like these red and yellow halos around there. Is that like a thin glazing of sorts?
Actually, so that's an underpainting. So that I start real thin. So when I started this out, it was like I use I pretty much went all black, and I would scrape out the light parts, and then I would go in with color like a light layer of red around it where the light was going to be, and then that's when I put the dab of white on top. Um,
So it's actual all white, or is it like a really, 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 really light
no,
red?
it's all white. Yeah,
Okay, so it's the contrast creating that effect.
yeah,
I like the car, the car on the left side. I like how you made it like hazy and blurry, right?
yeah,
It really comes off as visually real. You know, it feels like the lens blurring of a photo.
yeah. I really like being able to keep that painterly aspect in the photo too. Just kind of, uh, I don't know. I mean, I like. It's funny because like you take things and you look at them, you're like, "There's, it's not interesting, but how can I make it interesting? Like,
Yeah,
what's going to really make this pop?" And
yeah.
so it's the biggest thing. I mean,
Oh, go ahead, show some more. Whenever we run out of steam, we can always go to the next photo.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So here's another one that I did. So I did a number of these all in a row. Like so I was going downtown getting my photo references, and this is 4th Street, and I had this great light effect coming down 4th Street, and
High contrast.
oh yeah, and so that was one of the things I worked on. And like when I started it, I didn't plan on making it photorealistic in some spots, but it ended up just working out that way. But
some of the reflections do have that photorealistic approach to it, you know.
And I try not to stick so much to that, because I really want to make sure that, like, what's the point, if you go photorealist and then it's like, you could just print up a photo.
So what is your opinion on photorealism?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's definitely tedious, and people that can do it, it amazes me. And it's for a while I'm like, I could probably get into it, but it's just it's not very free for me. Like, as an artist, I want to be free in my painting, and
who wants to spend 500 hours on a painting?
Right.
Gosh, that would sound like torture.
Right. I remember in college we had one of our projects was to do a photorealist project, and it was like, it had to be to the T photorealist. Like, there could be no painterly quality to it, and it was like thin down layers of paint. And I think, God, 20, 30 layers of paint.
Yeah, it's all patience, it's all time, and to me, to some people, like I think if there's the artists that do it, you have to be it's a special breed of painter, because it's like ultra paint, like it's ultra patience, because you got to have this hyper focus and this extreme amount of patience to want to fulfill this image, and you got to be really committed. It's got to be something that's really inspires you, After like the first 100 hours, I'd be like, oh wow, this is
and I definitely, like, I feel like there's no signature to a photorealist style, though. I mean, you can't just look at it and be like, oh, that's Mike's work. That's like, it looks like it could be anybody's.
Yeah, especially with the only way is you notice is the subject matter is different.
Right.
But if you had all the photorealistic painters do the same thing, like the same picture, you'd have the same outcome essentially.
Yep. So, but this one was a lot of fun to paint. This was one of my smaller pieces. Let's see here. Oh, here's my girl in pink painting.
Oh, I like the blues contrasted against the reds.
Yeah, I love it. So that was a little personal creative editing, because that building on the left is actually a gray color, but I started out with a blue underpainting on this, and wanted to see what it would do to my image. And man, I loved it. Like, this was a lot of fun to paint. Really subtle details here and there, but the subject matter in itself was just, I really appreciate this. This is probably one of my favorite ones that I've done.
What's an underpainting?
Just so I did a blue underwash, and then an underpainting is just like you lining it out, drawing out what goes where.
What's an underwash?
So
people don't know.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I don't like to paint directly on a white canvas. I like to have an underwash, so you can really pull your brightest parts of the painting out. It's so like one of my paintings, I did a red underwash. A lot of artists that do landscapes, they'll do a brown underwash, and it's good for values. So when you're putting your values in on your paintings, it helps create depth and all that in your painting.
What do you mix to make an underwash? Like, teach me how to make an underwash.
So really, I'm mixing mineral spirits with whatever color I'm going to work with, and then I just go over top. I add a thick layer of it, and then I wash it across with turp so I can spread the paint across.
So you're making a thin layer of oil paint that's transparent on the canvas.
Yes.
That's going to be that. So this one particularly was a thin layer of blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming that there is a little bit of the underwash showing in some of these areas.
Yeah, and that's another thing I really like about picking colors is because, like I said, if I want to add that abstraction, that adds another raw material to the canvas. So, like, if I weren't to have gone with this blue painting in general, because most of it's very, very cold. Let's say I would have gone with a more realistic pairing of colors and left it where that blue is poking through. I mean, it just adds another quality to it, I think,
I think with I can see why you like this painting a lot. The girl, right, staring directly at you, and you've abstracted the face to be just like small facets.
Yeah.
I think that's very well made. Like, because it's just like I can see it. I don't know how large the piece is, right? So I don't have scale, but I like seeing how people decide to abstract the human figure, and I enjoy that part, right? And also, you did the whole contrast thing, right? You had the all the blues kind of encapsulating the little girl with the high contrast of the red and pink.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's see what my next one. The Washington Park Gazebo. I went downtown another day with my buddy to get photos, and we got these fountains right outside Washington Park. Washington Park Gazebo sits right outside of Cincinnati's Music Hall, which is like one of the big landmarks of Cincinnati. And Washington Park is one of those renovated parks that was a really bad area for a long time, and it had been restored, and it's just this great place to be now. But people go down there, and they got these awesome fountains that give this great light source, and they got every bit of it, and the details are really nice. But it's a great location, great hangout.
Did you do some policing there?
No. So that's city jurisdiction. I was county.
Did you eat a lot of donuts as a police officer?
Everybody eats donuts.
Did you eat an abnormal amount as a police officer?
No.
Just an average amount of donuts.
The same amount of donuts I eat now. I like it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What's really good about your work, I think the theme that you have going on with this specific genre is the glow. Right? Is that what you're pursuing with this genre of work, where you're creating these glowing effects with light and reflection, and using the impasto mark to kind of you can't see it on a photo, but in person you're going to see those thick strokes complemented by the thinner paint marks to have that thick thin contrast, and it's going to look the visuals will be more pronounced, so like photos you're only seeing half the information,
right? And what's really helped me, so one of my biggest, like I said, my first year was relearning technique and refining my technique, but also figuring out tricks to really make an image pop. And when it comes to these light sources, they look bright, and a lot of it is not just pairing a color like a bright color next to black, but having that middle tone in between it. So you got a red separating the white from the black. I don't know if you can see, like I'm trying to point.
You see that right there?
Right there.
Laser pointer on the screen. Like I'm not getting anything. Tony. You're.
Yeah. Well, so like if you look at the lights, like the strands of lights on the top of the gazebo.
Yeah.
So originally how I started with this was once again, I did another wash, underwash. And I started this one in all black and dark colors. And so I would go in and I would, where the lights were, I'm washing the paint off of the canvas. So it's just like, it's all ready, that's going to be a bright spot. And So it was nice because it's as I'm going through there, I'm outlining where I'm going to put these lights. And so then, you go with the first layer of like whatever's going to separate the darkest color from the brightest color. And it's just like layering up. And that's one of those hard things that I'm trying to figure out as an artist is what's going to make this really pop? What's going to make it really look like light jumping off this painting?
You stated that you use the black underpainting.
Yeah.
So that alone should actually help tremendously, wouldn't you say?
You would think, yeah.
I would assume so because of the base itself is a dark tone, and when you start adding those higher contrast, high chroma tones and those lighter tones, it's just gonna pop even more so. And I think that helps. And then complemented by your thicker application of paint, it's you got some what was it called? Like, what's a term for like a double whammy? What's another term for that? I don't know. I'm thinking like
1-2 punch. I don't know.
What?
Like a 1-2 punch, or
yeah, something like that. You're doing a bunch of cool combinations here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of it too. Every painting, it evolves as you paint. I mean, you always start a painting in your mind where you're like, I know exactly how I want to do this, but then by the time you get to the end, it's evolved into something else, and it's not bad. And that's kind of where I'm at, is like I'm learning as I'm painting, which is great. You find out what works. One of the things I like about oil paint, another reason why I like oil painting better than acrylic is being able to remove paint. You put it on, you put a layer on there, and you're like, I'm getting too thick on this paint. So you take a palette knife, scrape it off, but you leave that quality on the painting. That's just another essence of the painting, is like you get to see how this painting was worked. I don't know.
Tony, I have a question for you. Whenever you're starting a new painting, are you ever a bit scared or fearful?
Not really. I mean, what's exciting about paintings and for me is if I find something that's super complex, the best part for me is like the problem solving. And I always manage to problem solve a painting. There's been times when I've had a painting that I'm like, I can't figure this out. So I'll put it down for a little bit and I'll paint something else, and I'll come back to that painting and I'm like, I'll figure it out. But there's paintings can get intimidating, but the best for me is like, I like the challenge. I like figuring it out.
Do you ever have any trouble starting new paintings?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have, like you've heard of writer's block.
Yeah.
You get that with painting too. Like I'm like, well, shoot, what am I going to work on next? And what really helps me is doing little exercises here and there. I'll do small paintings, and I'll do like still lifes, and which I didn't include any of my still lifes on my file, but whatever. But so that's really helps me is if I'm in a rut and I got nothing to work on, I'm do whatever I can to hone my skills and
What's harder, starting or finishing a painting?
Starting for me.
It's probably because I have that problem too. Like I often dread starting new paintings. Actually, I haven't started a painting in a while, so probably been dreading too much. I don't have time for one, so that's another thing. But once you get that momentum going, finishing it may probably a little bit easier. Yeah. Oh, what else do you have?
Let's see here. My Roebling. This is the one that I poked a hole through.
Did you repair it?
Yeah, that was the other night. I'm kind of glad I poked a hole through because I needed to learn this little skill. But I was able to repair it.
How do you repair it?
So you get a primed canvas piece, like just cut a big square of it, and I have archival glue. And
archival glue.
Yeah, because you don't want it to like you don't want anything that with acid in it that's
Uh-huh.
kind of cause issues. But you lather it all over that patch, and then you put a little bit on the like around the hole on the back side of the painting.
Yeah.
And you press it down and get it nice and flat, and then you rest a book on top of it, lay it on a flat surface, and rest that book on top. But you also have to make sure that the other side of the painting, you get it pulled as much as you can. But yeah, so once you do that, I let mine dry for 24 hours. And then when you come in, you clean up the surface of the painting. So try to trim away any fibers there might be. And you're going to want to layer it with, I think I layered with some gesso. I put gesso inside of it. Like
oil-based gesso?
Yeah, with like just like right in the divot where the hole was, and then you can go in and just paint over it.
I hope you're not get weirded out by all these weird questions. I'm just curious how some artists are approaching like repairs and how they approach like their paintings as a whole. That's always very intriguing to me. Whenever I go to galleries, on the rare occasion that I would go to a gallery, I don't like wine and cheese. No, on the rare occasion I would go to a gallery, I would often go and try to sneak a peek around behind the wire to see if it was hanging, see how they made the frame, or I'd get really like nose close to the painting. I'm like,
that's how I'm always.
How'd they do that? What they did?
Yep, that's all I do. When I go to any like art museums or whatever, and I'm looking at I want to see the detail of the brush stroke. It's crazy when you're standing, however many feet back, and you're like, gosh, all these colors, they blend together so well, but then you got to get up close and really see it. And it's interesting because you're like, it looks like nothing up close.
I find that fascinating. There'd be times when I'd go up to a painting and I would like, oh, the person projected the image on here. I could see the pencil lines. Or whatever. Maybe not. Did a transfer or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. You try to pick it apart, but
so you fix this one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, but I'm just saying it's just learning. So.
Yeah, it's always a good thing to kind of like backwards engineer the process, because oftentimes the artist is not going to tell you that. Well, maybe they will. Maybe I need to go up to the artist and ask them, how'd you paint this?
Yeah.
I probably should more often when I go to a gallery. Maybe I'll have some wine and cheese.
Yeah.
So after you basically did like a like spackling with gesso, then what?
Then I go back in and I add my paints to it. You got to match your colors, and then so it's not always going to be perfectly the same as what it was before you put the hole through it. So you got to get a little creative. If there's like little spot. Problem for me is I know that it's there, so of course I'm going to notice the imperfections in the canvas. But once again, the nice thing about oils is the way you can layer it and create these textures.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just pretty much painting over it.
And so tell us about this piece.
Sorry.
Oh, because we basically talked about the repairing of it.
Right. So this was one of the first shots that I got in my first month of being an artist. My buddy, once again, my friend that took me out. He was teaching me perspective. Pardon me. Teaching me perspective and like how you get these shots and what makes a good photo. And I still don't know. I'm still learning that. But it was definitely one of those things where I'm like, it was nice for me because when I was trying to figure out, okay, the first thing that goes through my mind is, what am I going to sell? Well, I'm a Cincinnati artist. People love the Roebling Bridge in Cincinnati. It's very historic. This is the model for the Brooklyn Bridge. This was the prototype, and at one point, this was the longest bridge, suspension bridge of its kind in the world. And so it's got a lot of history, and people hold it dear. And so photographers are always getting photos of this. I mean, it's just a good selling item for a local artist. And so that was one of the first things that I had on my portfolio was this one. This was one of the ones that I worked on.
What makes a good photo?
What makes a good photo? I don't even know. It's yeah. I don't want to feed you a line, but you know, there's.
I think it's the best answer ever.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's perspective, I guess. I mean, where you're forcing the viewer to look. I mean, you know, you got composition, the way everything is, you know, goes from small to large, and you have an angle, and it's like I forget, like there's like this science to a good photo, and what was I don't want to try to get technical. I'm trying to think of like the perfect shape. What is that? The Peruvian or spiral or whatever? I don't know. But
it's supposed to like cut things in a specific section, and it's supposed to do that over and over again till infinity.
Yeah, and that kind of implies that's kind of like something that a lot of photographers use, especially when they're editing their photos. There's a setting that you can hit on a Photoshop that it sets the picture up for you. It's like,
does it for you?
Pretty much. And
oh wow.
But you know, like I said, I'm still learning. Like I'm still learning these little bits, and I get out on my own every once in a while, but I'm always watching YouTube too, just try to figure out, you know, what I need an exercise. What do I need to go take photos of just to get comfortable with my camera? And so, yeah. But I like this. You got a good sense of depth. You got a lot of detail in one little spot, but you're not like you have a focal point. And I don't know. This was a good one because this was a big problem solver for me. This is one of those things where I had to figure out how am I going to do these bricks and not make it look choppy and stupid with a brush. I kind of, you know, some people want to paint these bricks individually with the brush, but you got to find a way to blend that, you know, squint your eyes and try to make it into one solid shape and figure out how to make that bridge look like bricks, but not, you know,
how to abstract it enough, you know?
Right. And then also, you know, with these rungs, it's so, you know, I didn't want to go in there and paint on the bridge part where you got the metal beams where the light's shining through them. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go in there and paint each and every line. So a lot of it, what I did was I painted it solid color, and then I added the light in afterwards to make it appear as if it was, you know, these holes where the light was shining through. I just felt like that. I don't know. It's simplified.
Yeah, it's a good little strategy, you know.
Yeah,
makes it easier. Probably sped up the process too.
Yeah, it did. So, but yeah, let me get on to this next one for you.
Go for it.
My most recent paintings, Roebling Bridge. Once again, I've done a lot of Roebling paintings, but I think it's nice to have the same subject matter that you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. Because then you can experiment a little more. This was definitely one of my experimental pieces. There's an artist that I follow, David Chaffetz, amazing artist. He paints everything with palette knife. He does these invented colors in his painting where, like, you look at his photo reference and those colors aren't there, but it's like what he thinks is going to help push the painting a little bit more. And that's kind of what you're going for. Yeah. So I really pushed myself in this painting, and I had a blast. My main goal was to paint 85 to 100% in palette knife, just strictly palette knife. And I started out mostly with palette knife. There were tiny details here and there that I went in with a paintbrush, but most of what you see was palette knife. And what I like about that is you simplify the shapes. You don't get focused in too much on meticulous painting and trying to figure that out. With the palette knife, at least you're just pushing colors down, and you have to be more precise, planned and precise with what you're putting down there.
Do you see your work moving in that direction where you're using the palette knife more often?
Yeah, I do. I think what I like about the palette knife is you're forcing yourself to break away from this, like I said, like photorealist. I'm breaking away from that. With the palette knife, you just gotta you put more paint down quicker. I really enjoy using it. And,
They're probably heavier too.
I'm not using the big palette knives. I hold on, just little guy.
Okay.
And yeah, and like something with a lot of flex is really helpful. So I mean, it's nice, but you want a nice sharp point, and really it's fun to use. And you add these cool little marks. I love mark making. My wife loves to make fun of me for saying mark making, because that's one of the things when I describe my work. It's all about the mark making and the colors. And I like I said, with abstractions, I like to really just kind of push the color around and what kind of marks can I make, and I just leave it that way. And it wouldn't be a painting if you try to make it just so clean and I don't know.
Less restricting too.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely.
It's definitely one of this was a fun painting to paint. I really liked it.
So this is like your most recent, or
yeah. That's your
most recent.
Yeah.
That's like your last painting you finished.
Yeah. Yep.
And what's your next one? What have you started one since?
So right now, actually, I don't have the painting in here, but yeah, I'm doing a Reds painting. It was a baseball painting. It was a requested image that I'm doing. I don't actually have it in the computer here, but
that's cool.
Yeah, but something that I started. This one right here is another Rogueling, but it's this is like, once again, it's my experimental phase where I'm pushing perspective. I changed the angle of the image to try to. I wanted to create this. I just really wanted to create a different kind of composition for what you're typically used to seeing. I wanted to change the lines and really kind of add this dynamic sense to it. This was another one of the first paintings that I did when I started doing this full time. And we went out this morning, and it was one of those things. I got a low perspective image in the puddle, and I was looking at it one day, and I'm like, how can I make this even more interesting? And that's when I did the tilt. Yeah, I don't know. It was just fun. I'm over it. It was kind of a phase.
You're over it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm over this painting phase now. No more low angles and tilting it on the axis.
Yeah.
I'm going back to Reds paintings.
Right. You can do things so long and before you're like, all right, on to the next challenge. And
of course,
take a little bit from here and there and add to it. But yeah. Well, actually, a lot of people end up liking this one. I get a lot of compliments on it. A lot of people buy the prints.
Do you still have the original?
Yeah, I still got the original.
Gotta get that original sold there.
I know. Well, you know what?
It.
I haven't been putting things out. I haven't gotten into gallery, and given COVID really screwed things up for me. I had a lot of plans, and it kind of got squashed. But yeah, we'll get up and running here someday. This one, I like this one too because of the colors. This is a part of Over the Rhine. This painting's called Vintage.
Vintage. Yeah,
but this is old vintage tower sign, furniture sign. It's awesome at nighttime. It's neon lights that it just has a great glow at nighttime. Eventually, I'll probably get out there to get a photo of it with the night lights. But
I was about to say, you haven't done a painting like that yet.
Not yet. I haven't gotten down there to get my references yet, but
it's on a someday maybe list.
Right. Yeah.
Or someday soon, or to-do list for painting.
Yep.
But, and what kind of techniques were you using on this one? Anything specific?
No, I mean, a lot of once again, a lot of palette knife with this one.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
Yeah, with this, I mean, I did use a lot of brushwork in this, but there's really nothing special about this one. And I mean, I just like the color of it. With the sky, I went with this neon. I wanted to try to get this electric blue in the sky. And I just thought that would add another way of making this thing interesting, you know.
I like the text on your paintings. They're very clean.
Thank you.
What were you doing to get your text that clean? Is there anything, any like taping, or is it all by hand?
All by hand.
All by hand.
A lot of times what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll paint the text first. I'll have like a thin down dark underpainting behind it, but I'll go in with and paint the text in, and then like I'll just like the darker part I'll go over top of it to, you know, clean it up. Just yeah. And then also, you know, with that, I mean, a lot of people will go in and leave every single letter the same color, and really you don't get a sense of not everything's going to be the same color. You know, you got to kind of find a way to, you know,
the tones change because of the value is shifting.
Yeah.
It's not always a static color with the text.
Right. And I mean, I feel like that would have, if you make everything one single color, it's going to flatten the painting quite a bit. So, yeah. Anyways, let's see what the next one. This is Totes My Goats. Yeah. I don't know if you.
Is that really called Totes My Goats?
Well, do you see the goats in the painting yet? There's goats all over that thing. So we went to Hocking Hills for like a family getaway, and we went to this petting zoo, and the petting zoo has this truck, and there's all these goats on it. And it was funny. My wife's like, "You gotta get a picture of that." So I got a picture of it, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, well, this could be a good painting. And so I mean, I ended up making a painting, but there's like, I forget how many goats are in this picture. There's some under the truck. There's like 2, 3 of them on the bed of the truck. There's one like right next to it. I mean, yeah, they're all over the place. But I got a lot of good compliments on this painting.
Did you title it that, Totes My Goats?
That was mine. Yeah, it's all me.
Did you title it that way so you could just say Totes My Goats out loud?
Yeah. Quirky.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Totes My Goats.
Definitely, a lot of people like this painting, though. I think you can never go wrong with old rusty cars and trucks.
Totes.
No. Definitely a fave, and this is my electric blue phase. You can see there's a progression in my work where it's like colors of some sort that I'm just I find a color that I really like and I end up sticking to it
for a while, so that there's like some consistency, cohesion.
I guess. I don't know. I think it's just something I liked it enough the last paint. I'm like, I'll throw it in this time too.
It's probably because you still had some remaining on your palette. It's like, I gotta use this blue paint now.
Probably. I don't like the weight. What is it? Paint's only wasted if it stays in the tube.
Yeah.
This is my first attempt at a landscape painting since college. A friend of mine got these images out in Ireland, and I asked her, I was like, "Can I borrow this for one of my paintings?" And she, yeah, go ahead. So here it is. It was my first attempt at a landscape in forever.
What'd you learn from it?
Landscapes aren't as easy as they look. It's a lot of fun, but this was another one where I wanted to go strictly with palette knife. So I started out with palette knife, and I wanted to I didn't want to be typical of a landscape painting. I didn't want to I feel like a lot of landscape art looks the same, and I wanted to try to do something differently. And really, that's a hard thing to ask when you don't do it often enough. So yeah. I had to get that out of my head and stop being so stubborn. So I wanted to. What did I learn though with this? I mean, I like it. It was a lot of fun. I had what was nice about this is I was kind of having a hard time figuring out what my next painting was going to be. And I'm like, I want to do a landscape. There's nothing complicated with it. It's all shapes. Everything's organic. So it's just, I don't know. It was just, I liked it. You got to figure out how to create that sense of depth and all that. I don't know. It was a lot of fun. I trying to figure out how to apply what I already know to this and figure out how to do it. I mean, it was just different for me.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a different style of paint. I don't even know if I'm done with it. I might go back in. Who knows? But
it's not finished. So it's finished.
I think I signed it, so I guess it's finished. But sometimes you go back and you're like, I might try to work on something else.
How often do you go back on a painting?
It's rare.
Rare.
Every once in a while. So here's the thing for me is like when I do a painting, I get so excited to share it with people. And they're like, well, is it done? And I'm like, yeah, it's done. And then like, there's always a part of the painting where I'm staring at it and I'm like, I got to fix that. And nobody else would notice what I notice. And so no painting is ever finished for me, I guess. I look at it and there's always something else I could fix. The biggest thing is just calling quits sometimes.
I once heard a story from another artist where he was making a statement, or kind of like it was like a funny little comment or joke about how the galleries were really angry at him because the photos that they took of his paintings for the cards and the promotions, that painting's been painted changed since then because he decided that he wanted to work on it a little bit more. And I'm like, why do you keep doing that? It's like, well, I wanted to work on it some more. So like the painting's no longer the same painting that they're like promoting for the show. It's the same painting, but there's been some additions to it.
Right. Yeah, I know. The thing is like I'll scan a lot of my paintings or whatever, and they'll be like I'll have prints made up of them, and then like I'll look, I'm like, well, I can't mess with this painting anymore now because I have prints that I can sell of it, and I don't know.
Well, you probably can, just start a whole new tangent on the painting.
Yeah.
But then again, it's one of those like questions: when is a painting finished? And when you're doing that abstraction, right? When you're doing that type of abstraction, it's technically we can make the argument that paintings are never really finished.
Nah.
They could be ongoing, and that's one of that's one of the weird things about painting is like, when do you call the quits?
Yeah, it's really up to you, and a lot of times nobody's going to know the difference other than you.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
but it's still like pulling at you. You're like, oh gosh.
Oh yeah, I have so many paintings where I'm looking at them and I'm like, I could change that too.
And is it better to just, when you start a new painting, to keep starting new paintings so that you just kind of forget about the previous ones?
You know what?
And their problems.
Yeah. As soon as I start a new painting, I'm beyond the last one. So, the worst part for me is I got all these paintings in my studio and I see them every single day I'm in here. So it's like, I gotta get rid of them. I gotta take them out and show them off and sell them. I haven't promoted them enough to sell them. So, what are some plans that you're going about to move some of those originals? Because that's another thing. Storing paintings is a big deal. Oh yeah, I mean it's hard. I mean you gotta make sure that you prep them enough that they're gonna age well. Like you have to put your varnish on them and just make sure that they're not in certain parts of sunlight. And I had for a while I was talking to a couple galleries about trying to show some of my work, and there's one gallery that, of course, right when COVID started, everything got shut. Like we were going to have a show and everything, and that's when COVID shut everything down. So I was like, can I have my artwork back? And then I'll, until you guys are ready to show it. So I think they just reopened up in a different location. So I might go talk to them. But
how'd you land your gallery space or gallery gig? What'd you do?
Oh, I didn't really. All they did was they put I follow them on. I think I have a newsletter. I sign up for their newsletter. I look at a lot of local galleries, and I look at the artists that are selling with them. But I reached out to them when they mentioned that they were looking for artists to consign with. So I ended up reaching out to them, and I met up with the curator, and showed him some of my work, and he was like, "Yeah, it's kind of what we're looking for." And so
you had it all in a bag. You were just like signing the papers and getting everything all like official, and then
pretty much, yeah.
What'd you do then?
So I wasn't losing anything from it, and I told him, I was like, I know you guys are kind of shut down for the moment, and I said, do you have plans to try to sell any work, or what's the deal? And he said, yeah, we're working on it right now, but I mean, like, we're doing little bits here and there. We're doing private showings. And I said, okay, well, I mean, nice thing about the contract is I could nullify it anytime I wanted. They said, if you want to take your artwork, you're more than welcome to. And so I told him, I was like, I'd really like to come back, but at this point, I think I need to keep my artwork with me, and so I can keep track of it. I'd hate, I'm bad about keeping track of things. So, but I haven't really reached out to any other galleries lately. I need to start. But
is that one of your goals is to get into galleries?
One of my goals, I would like to have a show of my own work. I haven't jumped that I haven't made that leap yet, because I don't think I've quite figured out my subject matter yet. I don't want to have a show until I have an idea of what subject matter I want to have. I want what's going to be Tony Lip's art. What is it that I'm going to do a series of. I did all these cityscapes, but nothing's consistent enough where I'm like, a whole private solo show or whatever.
Well, if from my perspective, when I look behind you, right, and I see all those paintings,
mm-hmm.
from a bird's eye view, they feel like they're all related. They feel like they're in one theme, besides the athlete that's looking like he's doing a soccer kick or something.
Yeah.
But the rest feel, or the horses, but the rest feel like they're all in the same type of genre.
Yeah, they are. For the most part, they are. Like I said, it's a lot of it's nice thing about it. I mean, you can see my progression as an artist in those paintings. There's definitely a journey in those paintings that you can see. You can see where I started. You can see how I've progressed. You can see where I've experimented, and that's the best part right there. But yeah, I mean, I probably will end up reaching out here pretty soon to try to get some shows up.
What would it take for you to consider your work, your series, cohesive, an actual like body of work? What would be the definition of that for you?
I don't really know. I haven't. It's so new to me that for me, here's the thing: is you're going to be your own worst critic, and for me, that's what it is. I got people that look at it and they're like, pardon me.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, and knocked my thing down. I don't know. I think I probably do have enough for a show right now. For me, it's just getting me to jump that gun, I guess, or jump that.
Like 20 paintings or more?
Oh yeah, I think in my first year alone, I did about 24 paintings. Yeah, I did a lot.
Then you're probably good. Then you probably got a series of work.
Yeah. I got a lot. I just I think I just need to reach out and start shopping. I did have one gallery that that reached out to me and wanted to show my stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And we had scheduled to meet. And I go to the gallery and nobody's there. And I start messaging and I'm like, hey, is somebody going to meet up with me? And nobody gets back to me. And I'm like, all right. I waited a couple minutes. I still didn't see anybody. And I left. I'm like, all right, whatever. So then I get a message, hey, we forgot about you. And I'm like, oh, all right. Well, they're like, let's set up another day. And so we set up another day. And I go back in the same scenario. Nobody showed up. I'm like, what is this? So I go back to my studio. I'm getting kind of annoyed. And this guy finally calls me up and says, I'm so sorry. And he's giving me this sad story. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You just took like time out of my day that I could be doing work.
Yeah.
Be a professional. I'm going to be a professional. And so,
yeah,
I don't know.
And it feels like, is these the type of people I want handling my paintings?
Right.
Are they going to forget, like, oops, I forgot your painting disappeared,
Yeah. Well,
so they bailed twice, huh?
3 times. I gave him one more chance and the same thing happened. I was like, well, I'm done with this.
Wow. Like, 3 times. What was the excuse the 3rd time?
Oh, what was it? I don't even remember. He called me up, and then his fiance, who is running the place, she tried to get a hold of me as well, and there was no really apology. It was just kind of like, whatever. It was a bad experience.
Yeah, like I would be like, I'm not that desperate to get to you. That's a big like red flag,
Especially because like she reached out to me. I was like, okay, so
you think they're serious and then they're not? Gosh,
who knows? I mean,
were you mad about it?
I was annoyed. Yeah, I was annoyed at first. I got over it, but yeah, I was like, this is kind of annoying. Like I was hoping because I had a lot of work that related to the area, so it was a perfect spot for a show. But what are you gonna do?
Tony, what's some advice you can give to other artists?
So for me is always be willing to learn. You never know everything. Like for me, when I went through college, when I look back on my time in college, I felt like I knew everything, and you don't. I still don't know everything. So you should always be learning. You should never be content with where you're at as an artist today. Every painting should be challenging. Don't go with what you know. You can revert back to what you know, but for me, I like to follow a lot of artists that I can relate to their style of paint. I want to learn their technique, and if I can do what they can do, then I'll move on to the next artist. But yeah, you always have to be willing to learn. They talk about these master painters, and I'm like, you can never be a master. You shouldn't settle for what you're doing. You should always, strive to be the best at what you do.
That's pretty good. It's true that you can never, like, if you I like that quote where you like don't kind of lean on your past tendencies, right? Or lean on what you're comfortable doing, because it's easy. You don't want to take the easy route.
Right.
There's some truth to that, because you don't grow if you're not pushing yourself in some form or another. So what are you learning right now?
Well, so it's, once again, it's paint application, but color theory. So one of the things that I look at when I looked at college, and I'm like, things that I didn't learn. I'm like, was I not paying attention, or did they not teach this to me?
Yeah.
And it's like how to mix specific colors, color theory. I'm following these artists online where it's like just their techniques. I'm like, how did they learn that? And I got a friend that I talk to frequently that we were in art school together, and I was like, did we miss out on this? Like, what's going on? And she agrees. She goes, yeah, there are aspects that we're missing in our education, and it's we didn't have YouTube and social media and all this stuff that we could follow and go online and look at something and be like, oh wow, that's incredible. It's like the possibilities are limitless, and it's great to be able to go online and look for these artists and find other artists to be inspired by. And like, I don't know. I always want to find somebody you're never going to be the best artist. There's always going to be somebody that's better than you or that you're going to assume is better than you. And you just got to find that artist and not so much copy them, but, emulate them a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I take from a lot of artists that I follow, but you got to be willing to do stuff that is the hardest. If you avoid things because they're hard, that's where your focus should be. That's where you should be like, okay, this is hard for a reason. I don't know how to do it and I need to learn. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
That's pretty true. I totally agree with that. Tony, do you have a dream project that you would love to pursue in the future?
Dream project for me. I want to get back into painting figuratively. I've been doing I do a lot of portrait painting. I wanted to do something. I want to do people candidly. I want to paint candid shots of people. I want to get people in their raw expressions. You see a lot of artists that they'll go out and get reference photos and they'll have friends pose for them, and you can tell like that guy posed for that. Like I want to get somebody who is just lost in whatever emotions that they're stuck in, and I just want to capture that moment, and I want to find a way to tell a story in a painting.
So how are you going to go about that? How are you going to get those candid paintings?
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm going out and about and getting photographs every day. I try to get up close with people when I'm out and about, and try not to creep them out too much. Can
I get your photo?
Yeah, I know. And you gotta try to be sneaky about it. You gotta be patient and wait for people to pass you. And my biggest thing right now is I've been so busy doing artwork that other artists are doing. I really want to do something that's completely unique and just, different. And, there's an artist, what's his name? Daniel Sprick out of Denver. Beautiful. He does these beautiful portraits of people and in their just vulnerable states. And, he goes out and he finds like homeless people. He finds people that are just like your everyday Joe, and he captures every bit of what's going on in their life. Mm-hmm. And, it's crazy because like he's painting these figurative paintings of people and with scenery in the background. You're like, okay, other artists have done that, but they're not doing it the way that he's doing it. And that's what I want to achieve. I want to be the guy that nobody else is doing what I'm doing,
That's a big order right there.
Yeah. And that's why it's worth it to try,
Do you have any life advice that you'd like to share?
Yeah, life advice is, kind of what drove me to being an artist full time is figure out what's important. What do you want to spend your time on this earth doing? How are you going to leave your mark? What good can you do with your talents? We need each other. So the biggest thing is how do you benefit other people with what you can do?
Tony, one more question before we kind of wrap this up. How would you like people to remember this conversation?
I want people to be inspired. I want people to just kind of be like, you know what? Like, I want people to be like, yeah, this guy started over. This guy quit a career to go do what he loves. I I don't want people to, I want people to feel like they're not trapped doing a career until retirement.
Yeah.
To die a couple years later, you know, like I want you to be, I want people just to jump at the opportunity to devote more time to something, you know. When I stopped being a cop, the goal was to treat art as a full-time job so I could be as good an artist as I know I can be. And you know, there's people that have these talents where if they just had more time to devote to those talents, can you imagine, you know, where they would be?
Yeah, that's a tough thing. Like, I mean, I mean, you're a dad, so like you understand like how like finite time you have. There's
Mm-hmm.
not, you don't have, you don't. It's not like you have all this time availability, like this availability just to kind of paint. You know,
Yeah.
you get, there's a severe like time allocation to child rearing and taking care of your kids. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, yeah, and you know, people are so busy living life full of limitations. You know, they're being told they can't. They're being told why they shouldn't. You know, nobody pushes anymore. Like let's push talent. Let's push people to be their best, and that's what I want to be.
That is true. The self defeatist type of like society stigma where they don't want you. They like they'd rather bring you down than build you up.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's easier to bring someone down than to build them up, though. I think
It's easier
it's
to pull out the negatives. Like
yeah, it's
it's
hard.
it's easier to look at why you shouldn't do things. You know,
It's
and
it's definitely hard to bring up positive. Do you write positive things down in a journal or anything?
no,
No, I like
no.
to do that to kind of remind myself of just like anything that's positive is good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of negativity out in that world, and you know, I I do have a hard time staying positive and motivated. But man, when I come down to the studio, I mean, that's the first thing that goes through my mind is how great this is, you know. And
Yeah, a couple loggers might help too.
true story.
uh, Tony, where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram as under Tony Lips Art. It's LIPPS. A lot of people don't spell that correctly, but then there's also Facebook Tony Lips Art, and then I have a website tonylipsart.com, and it's got all my artwork on there, and it's also prints for purchase and all that on there as well, and it's got my biography and all that.
All right, Tony. Tony, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to talking with me, sharing a little bit about your life, talking about your art, and informing the world about your your life. What is it called? Like your it's like your it's like life force, not life force. It's your code, I
Yeah,
guess. What was it called? Like your
motto or
yeah, your life motto, or inform people about you as a person and what makes you tick. Right?
mhm.
I really do appreciate it. I'm messing up. Appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Um, so everyone that's watching, please, please, please help me out. Help artists out that I'm trying to spread the word and let people know about these artists that you would normally not find them. Right? Help them out. Help me out. Hit the subscribe button. Follow Tony Lips at Instagram, Facebook. Check out his website. Buy some original arts. He's got prints off the wazoo. Anyways, thank you so much, everyone. Cheers.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Take care.